The story begins deep below the surface of Ukraine, where an unseen war is unfolding in the shadows. While the world watches tanks, drones, and artillery exchange fire above ground, another dimension of the conflict is being written in the tunnels, trenches, and underground fortifications. Ukraine, facing a far larger military force, has revived and reinvented the ancient art of mine warfare, combining it with modern engineering and technology to launch a deadly campaign that is changing how battles are fought. This hidden front is silent, terrifying, and decisive. It is the story of underground war, Ukraine's deadly mine tactics against Russia, exposed in detail like never before. Hello everyone, welcome back to the World Conflict Monitor channel. Please subscribe to my channel for in-depth analysis, historical insights, and detailed breakdowns of today's most critical conflicts. In this video, we are going to explore a battlefield that few cameras capture, but which has been critical in shaping the war between Ukraine and Russia. On the exterior level, let us first imagine the surface of the conflict. To most observers, Ukraine's landscape is dominated by destroyed towns, open fields scarred with shell craters, and forests laced with trenches. Above ground, drones buzz overhead and missiles streak across the skies. But beneath that surface, a completely different world exists, one where miners, engineers, and soldiers work together in darkness, digging tunnels, laying explosives, building command bunkers, and preparing traps. The exterior face of this war often hides the truth. Russia may appear to advance or hold positions, but below them, Ukrainian sappers could be undermining their very foundations. Just as medieval sieges once depended on digging tunnels beneath castle walls, modern Ukrainian forces have turned mine warfare into a critical equalizer against a numerically superior opponent. The interior reality of these underground networks is both simple and deadly. The tunnels are often narrow, low, and cramped, forcing soldiers to crouch or crawl. Ventilation is poor, lighting is scarce, and every sound echoes with tension. Ukrainian forces have become experts at creating such interiors using knowledge from their country's long history of mining, particularly in the Donbass region, where coal and salt mines run deep beneath the earth. Some tunnels are reinforced with wood or steel, others remain rough, dug hastily under enemy lines. These underground spaces are not comfortable or advanced, they are claustrophobic, dark, and terrifying. But they provide concealment, protection from artillery, and opportunities for devastating surprise attacks. When analyzing the performance of Ukraine's underground tactics, the results are remarkable. These tunnels and mines allow small Ukrainian units to achieve outsized effects. They enable ambushes that catch Russian troops unaware, explosive charges that collapse trenches, and sudden raids that appear to come from nowhere. Russian armored vehicles can dominate open fields, but they are nearly useless against subterranean threats. Even heavy artillery and airstrikes cannot easily penetrate underground shelters, meaning Ukrainian forces can survive bombardments and then re-emerge to fight. This performance has forced Russia to allocate time and resources toward counter-mining operations, slowing their offensives and stretching their engineering units. In military terms, Ukraine's mine tactics transform terrain into a weapon, multiplying the defensive power of relatively small forces. In terms of safety features, these tunnels are paradoxical. On one hand, they protect Ukrainian soldiers from artillery, drones, and sniper fire, giving them a much higher chance of survival compared to staying in exposed trenches. Underground shelters can withstand near direct hits, acting like natural bunkers. On the other hand, the dangers are immense. Tunnel collapses can bury soldiers alive. Lack of oxygen can lead to suffocation. Explosives mishandled underground can wipe out entire teams. Fires spread quickly and are nearly impossible to escape. The safety measures Ukrainian sappers use include reinforcing walls, installing ventilation systems, and carefully mapping tunnel directions to avoid disorientation. Despite these precautions, underground war remains one of the riskiest environments imaginable. Yet the soldiers accept this risk because the payoff is strategic survival against overwhelming odds. The unique selling points of Ukraine's underground tactics are clear. First, they neutralize Russia's advantage in artillery and armor by creating a battlefield where tanks and helicopters cannot operate. Second, they rely heavily on Ukrainian strengths, skilled miners, local knowledge of geology, and innovative engineering. Third, they inspire psychological terror in Russian troops. Imagine soldiers holding a trench or a fortified position, never knowing if beneath their feet, explosives are being planted, ready to detonate without warning. This constant fear undermines morale, forcing Russian units to spread thin and remain on edge. Fourth, these tactics extend beyond combat. They serve propaganda purposes, showcasing Ukrainian ingenuity and resilience to domestic and international audiences. Unlike high-tech weapons donated by allies, underground warfare is a homegrown solution, showing that Ukraine is not simply dependent on external support but capable of fighting creatively on its own terms. When considering the price of these tactics, both literal and metaphorical, the numbers are revealing. Unlike missiles, tanks, or aircraft, which cost millions, tunnels are relatively cheap. They require manpower, time, and basic equipment rather than advanced technology. A single tunnel, if used effectively, can disable a tank column or destroy a heavily fortified Russian position. The economic price is low, but the human cost is high. Digging is exhausting, dangerous work. Miners-turned soldiers spend long hours underground, risking collapse, gas poisoning, or enemy counter-mining. Russia has deployed its own engineering units to detect and destroy tunnels, sometimes setting off underground battles where sappers fight each other in confined darkness. The price, then, is measured in sweat, blood, and psychological endurance, not only in financial terms. In conclusion, Ukraine's deadly mine tactics are not merely a side note in the conflict, they are a central strategy that keeps the war balanced despite Russia's overwhelming firepower. They represent a blend of ancient and modern warfare, where techniques dating back to medieval sieges are updated with 21st-century explosives and sensors. Above ground, Russia may hold superiority in tanks and artillery. But underground, Ukraine holds the advantage, forcing Russia into a grueling and unpredictable battle. The story of this underground war reminds us that innovation, creativity, and human willpower often matter more than sheer numbers or expensive equipment. It shows us how Ukraine, against all odds, continues to resist, adapt, and fight for survival in the most unexpected of ways.